The auditor may obtain the information regarding the complete capability and objectivity for variety of the source, such as the personal experience with the previous work of that expert, discussion with that expert, knowledge of the expert, qualifications. Published paper are the book written by that expert. Published paper are the book written by that expert. Auditor may also consider the following while evaluating the appropriateness of management expert work as a audit evidences. Okay, relevance and reasonable of the expert finding, the conclusions and their consistency. Relevance and reasonableness of the expert finding of the conclusion and their consistency with other audit evidences. Okay, it if expert work involve the use of the significant assumptions and the method, relevance and the reasonable of those assumptions and methods. If the expert work involve the use of the source data, relevance and the completeness of the source data, reasonableness of those assumptions and the method. If expert work involve use of the source data, relevance and completeness of the source data. Okay, if expert involve the use of the source data, relevance and completeness of the source data. Threats to the management expert's objectivity. Threats to the management expert objectivity. Many circumstances may threaten management expert's objective. For example, self-interest threat, advocacy threat, familiarity threat, self-review threat, and intimidation threat. Safeguard any reduce such threats but cannot eliminate all such threats. Yeah, but cannot eliminate all such threats. Auditor shall discuss with the management and that experts and any interest and the relationship that may create the threats to the expert's objectivity and any applicable safeguards. Matters which may affect the nature, timing and extent of the audit procedures adopted by the auditor in case of the management expert. ठीक है, nature of and the complexity of the matter, risk of material misstatements in the matter, nature and the complexity of the matters, and the nature and the complexity of the matters, risk of material misstatements of the matters, and availability of the alternative source of the audit evidences. Whether the management experts is employed by audit entity and engaged by it. Whether the management experts is a subject to the technical performance standards, Auditor's knowledge and experience of the management experts field of that experts. Auditor's previous knowledge of that expert. ठीक है. So firstly we will think the matters which may affect the nature, timing and extent of the audit procedures which is adopted by the auditor in case of the management expert. The first point is nature and the complexity of the matter. Second is the risk of material misstatements of that matter, and the third is availability and alternative source of the audit evidences. NRT is AQ. The very first is N stands for the nature and the complexity of the matters. Second, and R for the risk of material misstatements of those matters, or T stand for the technical and the performance standards. NRT, A for the availability, alternative source of the audit evidences, Second is the auditor's का knowledge क्या है उससे related, auditor's knowledge and experience of the management experts and of that field. ठीक है. And auditor's previous experience of the work. Auditor का previous experience क्या है, auditor का knowledge क्या है, and what is the alternative source available for that experience. ठीक है. Next is what is the matters which may affect the nature, timing and extent of the management experts. The very first is nature and the complexity of the matters. Second is the risk of material misstatements of the matters. Availability of the alternative source of the audit evidences. Whether management expert is 3. N stand for the nature, timing and complexity of the matter, and R stand for the risk of material misstatements of that matter, and T stand for the technicals and the performance standard. AQ is A stand for the alternative source available. Second is the auditor's knowledge of that experts, and third is auditor's previous knowledge and experience. What is the auditor's previous knowledge and experience regarding that experts? Second. Okay, this is how we have completed the one standard. Next we will go for the SA 501 for the audit evidences, specific considerations for the selected item. Specific consideration for selected item. SA 501. SA 501 is audit evidence, specific considerations for the selected item. SA 501 is specific considerations for selected item. Specific consideration for selected item. Specific consideration. SA 501. Specific consideration for the selected item. What is the specific? SPECIFIC. Specific considerations for the SA 501 is talking about the specific consideration for the selected item. In this we will study the inventory. This deals with the specific considerations by the auditor in obtaining the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences with respect to the inventory, litigations and the claims. Okay, and the segment informations in the audit of financial statements. When the inventory is material to the financial statement, auditor shall obtain the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences. Auditor shall appropriate audit evidences. ठीक है. When the inventory is material to the financial statement, auditor shall obtain the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences. Auditor attendance at the physical inventory counting. What is the attendance at the physical inventory counting? If practicable, evaluate the management's instructions and the procedures for recording and controlling the results. Okay. Second is the observe management counting procedures. If management is performing the counting procedure, then we have to observe how they are performing these procedures, and inspect inventory and perform performance and the perform test count, and then perform the test count, and then perform the evaluate the management instructions. Okay. For inventory, if attendance at the physical inventory counting, attendance at the physical inventory, if practical, evaluate the management instructions and the procedures for evaluate management instructions and the procedures for recording and controlling the results of physical counting. Observe management counting procedures. Observe management counting procedures. Inspect inventory. Perform test counting and perform test counting. Evaluate management instructions and the procedures for recording and controlling the results of the management of physical inventory counting. Observe management counting procedures. Inspect inventory और उसके बाद perform test count. Inspect the inventory and perform test count. Evaluate management expert. Evaluate management instructions. Evaluate management's instructions and the procedures for recording and controlling results of the physical inventory count. Evaluate management procedures for the recording and perform perform test counting. Inspect the inventory and observing the evaluate management procedures and observe the account. Observe management counting procedures. Inspect करना है inventory को और inspect करना है inventory. Inspect the inventory and perform the test count. Inspect the inventory and perform test count. Inspect the inventory and perform test count. If physical inventory counting is conducted at the date other than the date of the financial statement. If physical inventory counting is conducted at other date other than the date of the financial statement, in additional to the above, auditor shall also perform the additional audit procedures to obtain the audit evidences whether the change in the inventory between the count date and the date of financial statement is properly recorded, whether the change in the inventory found date If auditor is unable to present at the physical inventory count on the date of the plant due to unforeseen circumstances, auditor shall make or observe some physical count on the alternative date and to perform the audit evidences procedures on the intervening transactions. The first is verify the treatment. Verify the treatment given for the discrepancies. What are the discrepancies periods given? ठीक है, and notice during the physical counting. Notice between the physical count. Ensure that the appropriate cutoff procedures followed by the management. Appropriate cutoff procedures is followed by the management. Verify the treatment which is given by. Verify the treatment. Verify the auditor shall make or observe some physical counting on the inventory on physical count on the alternative date and perform the audit procedures on intervening transactions. ठीक है. Verify the treatment given for the discrepancies noticed during the physical counting. Ensure that the appropriate cutoff procedures followed by the management and get the written representations from the management on the completeness of information provided regarding the inventory and assurance of the physical inventory counting procedures and the physical inventory counting procedures. ठीक है. Auditor shall make or observe some physical count on the alternate date and perform the audit procedures on intervening transactions. Verify treatments given for the discrepancies noticed during the physical counting. Ensure the appropriate cutoff procedure is followed by the management. अगर auditor is unable to present the physical counting and plan due to the unforeseen circumstances, तो उसमें क्या करेंगे? Auditor shall make the observe some physical counting on the alternative date and perform the audit procedures on the intervening transactions. Then the next is verify the treatments which is given for the discrepancy, whether the cutoff procedures is followed or not, and get the written representations from the management for the completeness from the information. देखो, अगर इन्वेंट्री का डेट इफ़ इन्वेंट्री काउंटिंग इज़ कंडक्टेड अदर देन द डेट ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स, तो उस पर्टिकुलर केस में क्या करने वाले हैं हम? उस पर्टिकुलर केस में हम ये करेंगे वेदर द परपेचुअल इन्वेंट्री रिकॉर्ड्स आर प्रॉपरली रजिस्टर्ड, रिलायबिलिटी ऑफ एंटिटीज परपेचुअल इन्वेंट्री रिकॉर्ड्स एंड रीजंस फॉर द सिग्निफिकेंट डिफरेंसेस बिटवीन द फिजिकल काउंटिंग डेट एंड द परपेचुअल इन्वेंट्री. ठीक है, ओके. लेकिन अगर क्या है, फिजिकल इन्वेंट्री काउंट ऑन द डेट प्लान ड्यू टू द अनफोर्सिन, इफ ऑडिटर इज अनेबल टू प्रेजेंट एट द फिजिकल इन्वेंट्री काउंट ऑन द डेट प्लान ड्यू टू द अनफोर्सिन सर्कमस्टांसेस, counting date conducted other than the date of the financial statement is unable to present at the physical count date, the discrepancies found, उसको treatment given for the discrepancy found, cut off process followed है क्या, और get the written representation on the completeness of the information provided regarding the inventory and record. ठीक है. When attendance at the physical inventory count date is impracticable due to the nature and the locations of the inventory that poses threats to the safety of the auditors, ठीक है, then auditor shall perform the alternative audit procedures. तो उस केस में क्या करना पड़ेगा? ऑडिटर को alternate audit procedures परफॉर्म करना पड़ेगा. Examples of the alternative audit procedure: inspections of the documents of the subsequent sales of specific inventory items required are purchased prior to the physical inventory counting. Purchase prior to the physical. Examples of the alternative audit procedures: inspections of the documentations of the subsequent sale of specific inventory item acquired on the prior place of the physical inventory count. Examples: alternative audit process: inspections of the documentations of the subsequent sales of the specific inventory item acquired are the purchase prior to the physical inventory count date. ठीक है. If not possible to obtain the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences, regarding the existence and the conditions of the inventory by the performing alternative audit procedure, then the auditor shall modify the report. If it is not practicable and not possible to get the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences regarding the existence and the conditions of the inventory by performing alternative audit procedure, then the auditor shall modify the report as per the SS 705 results of the scope limitations. ठीक है. If inventory is held by the third party, request confirmation from the third party. If inventory is held by the third party, तो request करेंगे for the confirmations of existence of the inventories. ठीक है. Inspections of other audit procedures regarding the quality and conditions of the, ठीक है, performance of the audit procedures. और उसके बाद अगर if it is pledged, then the asking for the documentations and request confirmation from the third party regarding the quantities and the conditions of the inventory, perform the inspections or other audit procedures. Okay. Perform inspections or the other audit procedures appropriate in the circumstances. Perform inspections or the other audit procedures appropriate in the circumstances. If information is obtained, then raise the doubt about the integrity and objectivity of the third party. Auditor may perform other audit procedure. Examples of the other audit procedure include the attending third party's physical counting of the inventory if practicable, attending third party's physical counting of the inventory if practicable. If practicable, obtain other audit report for ensuring that the inventory is properly counted and safeguarded. Inspecting the documentations regarding the inventory held by the third parties. Regarding the inventories which is held by the third party, inspecting the documentations regarding the inventory held by the third parties. Take a request confirmation from the third party when inventory has been held on the as a collateral security. If an entity has held as a collateral security, inventory held by the third party, request confirmation from the third party regarding the quantities and the conditions of the inventory, perform, inspect or other audit procedures appropriate in the circumstances. If information is obtained that raise the doubt about the integrity and the objectivity of the third party, auditor may perform the other audit procedure. Example of the other audit procedures includes attending the third party's physical counting of the inventory if practicable, obtain another auditor's report for ensuring that the inventory is properly counted and safeguarded, inspecting the documentations regarding the inventory held by the third party, or requesting confirmation from the third party when inventory has been held as a sale for the collateral security. Request confirmation from the third parties regarding the quantities and the conditions of the inventory. Second, if performing the inspections or the other audit procedure appropriate in the circumstances. ठीक है, परफॉर्म करो अदर ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स, उसमें क्या सर्कमस्टांसेस होते हैं, अगर एक हेड एज attending third parties physical inventory counting, obtaining another auditor's procedures and inspecting documentation. ठीक है, पहले क्या करेंगे, इंस्पेक्ट करेंगे डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, इंस्पेक्टिंग अदर ऑडिटर्स से जो ऑडिटर्स की जो रिपोर्ट है इंस्पेक्ट करेंगे डॉक्यूमेंटेशन को, ऑब्टेनिंग दी अदर ऑडिटर्स जो रिपोर्ट होते हैं वो ऑब्टेन करेंगे, और उसके बाद क्या करेंगे, अटेंड करेंगे थर्ड पार्टीज फिजिकल काउंटिंग, रिक्वेस्टिंग कन्फर्मेशन फ्रॉम द थर्ड पार्टीज व्हेन द इन्वेंट्री हैज़ बीन हेल्ड एज अ कोलेटरल सिक्योरिटी. ठीक है, उसके बाद लिटिगेशंस एंड क्लेम्स की बात करेंगे. Auditor shall perform the following audit procedure to identify the litigations and the claims which may give rise to the risk of material inquiry from the management, including in-house legal counsel, review minutes of the meeting of the TCWG and review the legal expenses account. ठीक है, inquiry from the management including the in-house legal counsels, review the minutes of the meetings of the TCWG, reviewing the legal expenses account, reviewing the legal expenses. Inquiry from auditor shall perform the following audit procedures to identify the litigations and the claims which may give rise to the risk of material misstatements. Auditor shall perform the following audit procedures to identify. Auditor shall perform the following audit procedures to identify the litigations and the claims which may give rise to the risk of material misstatements. Inquiry from the management including the in-house legal counsel. Inquiry from the management including in-house legal counsels, review minutes of the meeting of the TCWG, review legal expenses account. ठीक है, litigation से review minutes of the meeting, legal expenses accounts, inquiry from the management including the in-house legal counsel, communications with the entity external legal counsel, communications with the entities external legal counsels when the audit procedures performed indicate that the material litigations and the claim may exist. Auditor shall seek the direct communications with the entity's external legal counsel. Auditor shall do so through the letter of inquiry prepared by the management and sent by the auditors. ठीक है, communications सबसे पहले क्या बोल रहे हैं, litigations and claim में legal expenses account, minutes of the meeting और inquire from the management, और उसके बाद if communications with the external legal counsel कब करेंगे, when audit procedures performed indicate that the material litigations or the claim may exist. Auditor shall seek the direct communications with the entities external legal counsel. ठीक है, auditor shall do so through the letter of inquiry which is prepared by the management and sent by the auditor. Prepared by the management when audit process perform indicate that the material litigations are the claim may exist. Material litigations and the claim may exist. Auditor shall seek direct communications with the management and the and in external legal counsel. ठीक है. Auditor shall do so through the letter of inquiry prepared by the management and sent by the. ठीक है. वो इसलिए कर सकते हैं. If any material discrepancy found, if audit process perform indicate the material litigations and claim may exist, auditor shall seek the direct communications with the entity's external legal counsel. Auditor shall do so through the letter of inquiry prepared by the management and sent by the letter of inquiry prepared by the management and sent by the auditors. ठीक है. Requesting the entity's external legal counsels to communicate directly with auditor. Auditor may ask for the list of litigations and the claims and may seek the meetings with external legal counsel. If auditor is unable to communicate with external legal counsel, modify the report as per the SC 705. Obtain the written representation that all known litigations and the claims have been disclosed to the auditor and appropriately accounted as per financial reporting framework. Segment information. Auditor shall obtain the sufficient and appropriate audit evidences regarding the presentations and the disclosures of the segment information as per the financial reporting framework by obtaining understanding of the methods. ठीक है. Obtaining understanding of the methods used by the management in determining the segment information. Examples of the matters that may be relevant when obtaining such understanding includes segment information. Obtain understanding of the methods used by the management in determining the segment information. Obtaining understanding of the methods which is used by the management in determining the segment of the information. Example of the matters that may be relevant when obtaining such information. Obtained methods. Obtaining understanding of the method which is used by the management. Obtaining understanding of the method used by the management for knowing the management information. Sales between the segment and eliminations of inter-segment amount. Sales between the segments and the eliminations of the inter-segment amount. Comparisons with the budget and the other expected results. Allocation. Comparison of the budget with the other. Comparisons with the budget and the other expected results. Allocations of assets and the cost amongst the segment. Consistency with the prior period. Allocations of the assets and cost among the segment. Consistency with the prior period and the disclosure with respect to the inconsistency. Performing the analytical or the other audit procedure. Performing the analytical and other audit procedures. Performing the analytical and